friends, welcome to Healing with the Inner Tarot. In this series, I'll be using this book, The Inner Tarot by Kate Van Horn, as my guide to a 78-episode healing journey that I'm happy to share with you. Thank you so much for being here. I just wanted to mention that I'm not a therapist. I'm a self-therapy enthusiast. I have some psychology education in my background, and I just wanted to mention, if you feel the need to seek professional help, please do so. A lot of the subjects that we'll be talking about in this series could be triggering, and there is a lot of help available out there. In the description of this video, I will be including a link to a downloadable PDF workbook with some homework you can do after watching today's show. And included in this workbook is a tarot spread that I created called Letting Go, and that's my gift to you. So let's get to it. Today we're talking about the Four of Pentacles and how we can use this card as a way to heal. Now, the Four of Pentacles is about holding on. It's about control, maybe greediness. And on the flip side, it could be about saving money and stability and frugality, being frugal. Now, if we look at the card, we see a man sitting, seemingly guarding those pentacles, keeping them all to himself. There's a town behind him, and that symbolizes stability. He kind of seems set in his ways, don't you think? He seems financially stable, but is he stable in other areas of his life? Nobody is going to touch those coins. He's got them solidly protected, but at the same time, he's stuck. He can't move. This is how Kate describes the Four of Pentacles in her book. The Four of Pentacles answers the common question, how are you? With the answer, I'm getting by. She writes further, just getting by. While the fours in the tarot offer us a chance to take a breath and pause, that stubborn earth element will stop you right here in the cycle, sit you down, and warn you to stay put. This card resists the unknown, and the fear of losing what has been established could start to outweigh our longing for more. While this energy is traditionally about saving money, the concept of saving or hoarding oneself can span across many areas of life. I'm going to repeat that. The concept of saving or hoarding oneself can span across many areas of life. Now, I could add another meaning to this card. In the Three of Pentacles, we started to collaborate and learn from the wisdom of others. And now in the Four of Pentacles, our efforts may be starting to be rewarded. Now, though this card does come with a slight warning not to hold on too tight to material possessions, we have to keep that in mind. And if we look at the reversed card, the Four of Pentacles could be warning us that we're spending too much money or we're spending it irresponsibly. You may covet your material goods so much that you lack trust in others. I knew someone once who wouldn't let her partner touch her clothing for fear that he might somehow ruin them. She was too protective of that wardrobe because to her it was really expensive and valuable. And in her mind, nobody but her could take care of it. And I know this turned her partner off because she was so focused on these things rather than opening up and offering trust to him. So how do we link the Four of Pentacles to our healing journey? Well, Kate connects the card mostly to money issues, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I thought we could ask ourselves a few questions. Number one, what are we protecting? And number two, what are we unable to share? Kate writes in her book that your life has the capacity for so much more if you just loosen your grip. Now, I'm going to show you an image here that really describes what we're talking about with regards to loosening your grip. This is something I found on the internet, an image search. You can find it anywhere. And if you look at this little image, you can think about holding on too tight. And sometimes when we hold on too tightly, this happens. If we hold on too tightly, we can become suffocated or injured or stressed to the point where we might blow up or explode. We lose focus on those things that have deeper meaning. Maybe we become obsessive or possessive with material gain, and in the process lose important and loving connections with the people in our lives. As we start to loosen our grip and not place so much importance on this figurative rope, the injury is gone. You start to heal. You can breathe a sigh of relief, and it's very freeing. According to the company Psychology Spot, holding on implies developing an excessive and obsessive attachment to something or someone so that we completely lose perspective and objectivity. In fact, that attachment ends up generating a stubborn posture and a limited vision that leads us to maladaptive behaviors. Now, here are a few quotes about holding on that I wanted to share with you. Number 1, sometimes we hold on too tight to the wrong people until it hurts so much that we have to let go. And that's a quote by Alice Feeney. The next quote I want to share is by someone named Copeland. You lose control when you hold on too tight. Now, the next two quotes, I couldn't find the author. But number 3 is, you can't lose what you never had. You can't keep what's not yours. And you can't hold on to something that doesn't want to stay. Number 4, sometimes by holding on too tight, you end up losing what you were trying so hard to save. Sometimes, though, holding on is second nature to us. It's not something that we're consciously aware of. And if you think about it, we hold on to a lot of things in our lives. For example, what do we hold on to? Well, we hold on to the people we love. We tend to cling to the people we love and who play an important role in our lives. We do this sometimes out of admiration, but on the unhealthy spectrum, we do it out of desperation. We hold on to our possessions, our most valuable stuff that we place so much importance on. We hold on to painful past memories. Now, this is a tough one because if we haven't fully healed from a trauma in our past, we tend to hold on to these memories and they continue to hurt us all over again every time, as if we've been just freshly wounded. We hold on to traits that we think define us. Maybe we were told over and over as a kid, you're lazy, you'll never amount to anything. Well, we can definitely hold on to these ideas and let them define who we are as adults. We hold on to negative thought patterns, such as expecting the worst all the time or only seeing things in black and white, all or nothing thinking, We hold on to unrealistic hopes and expectations. Now, if I'm honest, this continues to be hard on me. It's a hard one for me. A counselor once told me I had the disease of hope in a former relationship. Despite the patterns glaring right in my face, I still had hope that things would change, and that was very unrealistic. Now we can hold on to bad habits. I mentioned in episode 1 of this series that I have trouble swallowing food. Well, many years ago, I developed a very bad habit of taking a certain medication to basically sedate me slightly every day, every time I wanted to eat, so that I didn't panic while I was trying to eat. And I held on to that bad habit for many years, convincing myself that it was the only way I could swallow food well. I proved that wrong to myself, but I held on to that bad habit for many, many years. We can hold on to negative emotions. We hold grudges. We refuse to give people the benefit of the doubt, or we refuse to forgive people. And we can hold on to regrets. We humans really know how to torture ourselves, don't we? We sometimes cannot or will not let go of those missed opportunities, or that person who broke our heart, or any kind of regret that we have. Regrets are a difficult one, and probably one for another show completely. Those are just some things that people hold on to that can affect a person badly in the end. Now, I was reading a little bit about Buddhist philosophy, which is very interesting, and how excessive attachment is the origin of suffering. Now, here's a quote from the Dalai Lama. Most of our problems are due to our passionate desire and attachment to things that we misinterpret as enduring entities. Understanding why we hold on and learning to let go of those attachments is essential to achieving mental balance and happiness. So why do we do it? Why do we cling or hold on to something or someone? Because we believe that holding on will provide us 3 things that we all long for: happiness, security, and meaning. Now, if we start with happiness, this is the first reason why we hold on, because we feel it'll bring us happiness. We believe that what we're holding on to holds the key to our happiness. If we lose that person or that object, we predict the worst, or we believe that we will feel unbelievably miserable. But I read a study from psychologists at Stanford University that shows that we are very imprecise when it comes to estimating that degree of happiness or discomfort. So by holding on, we're very likely just wasting our time and our health out of an inaccurate assumption. Now, I'm going to tell you a story that I don't necessarily like to speak about, but it's important to give you a real example of how holding on too tightly to a person can be detrimental. When I was in my early 20s, I had a boyfriend. He was very handsome. He was very popular. I felt very flattered that he was interested in me. Now, my upbringing didn't really favor self-esteem and any knowledge of self-dignity. So I was kind of starstruck in a way with this guy, you know, and I let him walk all over me. It was a whirlwind kind of love at first sight type of romance, you know. I was obsessed. I always wanted to be with him. I couldn't handle when he was out with his friends. I was clingy. I would do whatever he wanted to do. Wherever he wanted to go, I'd go. If he wanted me not to hang out with my friends, I didn't hang out with my friends. If he wanted me to stay home while he went out and got drunk with his friends, hell, I stayed home. I equated my life's happiness with that guy, and I truly felt that if he didn't love me anymore, nobody would. How unhealthy is that? But I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that story. So back to our list. The second reason why we hold on is security. Many times we cling to someone or something because it's familiar. It gives us a sense of security. Now, this could be based on the fear of the unknown, you know, a resistance to changing things. I read that this person or object kind of becomes a safety anchor for us, and we're afraid that if we uncling ourselves, that we'll sink and our world will fall apart. But in the end, you know, this kind of security is an illusion, and I'll give you another example of that. I held on to a job for many years, and it was a job I hated. I didn't like the bosses. I didn't even really like my coworkers. Whenever they would ask me to go out after work, I would always make up excuses not to go because I just didn't like the people. I didn't like the atmosphere of the work environment, you know. But I stayed at that job because, well, it was a decent paying job. It had good benefits. And I knew the routine. I was the employee who was there the longest. And I guess in a way I was resistant to finding something more suitable for myself because I didn't want to upset this so-called balance of my everyday routine. And for me, I'm someone who loves routine. It felt safe. But like I said, security is an illusion. Because that company ended up folding. I lost my job and my world kind of fell apart there for a while because that's what I was clinging to. That's sort of what I identified with, you know. But of course, inevitably, I did find another job and life was okay after all. So that's sort of an example of how this security can be an illusion. So if we go back to our third reason why we hold on, it's meaning. We've attached meaning to these people or objects. We may have built our entire lives around them. They give our lives meaning. They make us feel important and significant. And I think a lot of this holding on happens mostly in relationships when it has to do with meaning. You know, maybe a parent clings to their child even if the child is fully grown because being a mom or a dad has been so important and significant for them that they can't let that child go and live their own lives. We see this a lot in movies, right? The trophy wife who treats her husband like crap, but he clings to her because she's his arm candy. It gives his life some kind of meaning. It gives himself some kind of status. So what are the consequences to holding on too tight? Well, let's take a look. Number one, our world becomes smaller. Our entire lives can begin to revolve around what we're holding on to. We have a fear of losing it. We feel like we've worked too hard to achieve what we have, be that a person or an object, that we spend so much time and energy to keep it. This can lead to obsession or controlling behavior. Number two, we may lose what we cling to. When the bad behavior starts, you know, obsession, control, neediness, even jealousy, we may see the opposite effect when it comes to people. We will lose them. I would say most people don't enjoy a needy or desperate partner or friend. It can be emotionally draining and usually results in that person creating some distance or even walking away for good. So it's the opposite, you know, of what we want. Number 3, we lose our freedom. When we cling to something or someone, the lengths we go to can cause us to miss out on other opportunities that could bring us real joy and a sense of reward. There's a quote that I read that says, "Freedom is the only condition for happiness." And if we cling to something, we're kind of imprisoning ourselves to that person or object, and this is not freedom. Number 4, we keep getting hurt. When we hold on to something too tightly, we kind of forget that we can't control every situation. The world is constantly changing, and we're not fortune tellers. We can't predict how anyone will act or behave. We can't predict if we'll lose our jobs or if a bad storm will blow our roof off. We become too rigid in our thinking. And when we hold on too tight because we won't accept that truth, that we can't hold on to everything, well, we tend to keep getting hurt over and over. And unfortunately, when we get that dose of reality and we lose that person or we lose that object, like I said, we just keep getting hurt over and over because we may fall into not being able to let go of that which hurts us. We hold on to that hurt. It becomes a vicious cycle. We held on to someone or something. We orbited around them. We lost our freedom from tunnel vision, focusing on this person or this object. We likely lost them, and now we can't stop holding on to the hurt. Terrible vicious cycle, isn't it? But if we learn from the Four of Pentacles card, we can turn things around and work on our self-esteem and our self-worth. If we think about people and relationships, people aren't possessions, and we don't own them. I repeat, people are not possessions. People are free spirits. We do not own them. If we can learn that lesson, we can start to develop a deeper connection with ourselves and find healthier relationships. We can lead more balanced lives with our own interests alongside a safe, respectful, and loving relationship. We have to stop idealizing other people, thinking that if that person loves me, my life is complete and I'm great and nothing can go wrong, all is well. But if they don't love me, my life is a catastrophe and nobody will ever love or understand me like this person does. I'm sure that you've heard the saying, if you love someone, set them free. Well, if you're able to set them free, that means you're accepting that you don't own them. So that, my friends, is freedom. But this also applies to material goods, right? Learning the Four of Pentacles lessons might help us to place less importance on stuff. The saying goes, you can't take it with you, right? If you can be accepting of this, maybe you can become more giving, be more encouraged to donate a little time or money to a worthy cause, or just leave a bigger tip to that nice waiter who made your meal a pleasant experience. It's really freeing to let go. Now, I'd like to recommend a book for anyone who's interested. I'm not promoting this book. I just wanted to make you aware of it. It's called Clear Your Clutter with Feng Shui. It's a great little book on how to free yourself from any type of clutter that's sapping your energy. It focuses mostly on physical clutter in the home and how clutter is basically stuck energy that affects you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But I think that the Four of Pentacles energy might come across as a bit of a stuck energy. So I like the correlation between Feng Shui and decluttering your home and the Four of Pentacles energy. So what can we do to stop holding on too tightly? Well, I have a few suggestions for you. Number 1, recognize your behavior. Do you constantly need validation and reassurance? Do you feel helpless when doing things on your own? Number 2, like I said, stop idealizing. We talked about this. If you idealize a person, object, or situation, you will feel devastated if and when you lose this. You place your entire happiness on this, and it's really unhealthy. Remember, no one else can manage your feelings and happiness but you. It's hard for a lot of people to accept this. A lot of people think that other things and people complete them, but real happiness does come from within. Well, number 4, recognize that you can learn. You can undo old habits. It just takes education, motivation, and consistent work, and belief in yourself. Number 5, work towards enjoying time alone. If we've been placing too much value on other things and other people, it may seem like a challenging task to be alone. I've been there. I remember that. I had such a hard time being alone for the longest time. But learning to enjoy your own company is a key point in learning to let go of being clingy and needy and holding on too tight. Number 6, make more choices on your own. Don't always rely on other people's choices. Voice your own. And don't worry about the consequences. You have the right to your own opinions and your own choices. Maybe you've been going out to that pizza joint every weekend because your friends want to and you place too much value on their choices and opinions. But what would happen if you say, you know, gals, tonight I kind of want to eat Greek food. This might be difficult for you, but it's a great way to start breaking that chain of attachment to holding on too tight. Number 7, check the facts. When you hold on too tightly to someone, you may have fears of losing the person, and that's not based on reality. This can lead you to hold more tightly and to seek reassurance in either positive or negative ways. Remember to check the facts. Is there any evidence, and I mean true evidence, that what you're thinking is factual? If it's not factual, then you have to try to find some way to calm your anxieties and tell yourself, no, what I'm thinking is not true. I have a fun little exercise that I'm going to show you. It's like a visual. I have a coin here. Since we're talking about pentacles, I have a coin. It's a nickel, actually, a rare nickel. And I say rare because I don't carry cash. So I had to really look for a coin to do this little exercise. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got the coin in my hand, and I'm going to make a really tight fist. I'm holding on really tightly. And I'm going to imagine that this coin represents the person or the object that I'm holding on really tightly to. I'm really making a fist here, and I'm extending my hand out, and I'm going to turn my palm down. Now, what happens if I can't hold it anymore? What happens if I open up my fist after holding on too tight? I've lost the coin, right? I've lost whatever it represents to me. Well, maybe I'm stubborn, or maybe I'm all the things I mentioned above, you know, reasons why we hold on too tight. Maybe all that's going on with me. So I'm going to push on. I'm going to hold that fist. I'm going to hold on really tightly. I'm going to cling, cling, cling. I'm going to be stubborn. I'm going to be desperate. I'm starting to feel obsessive. I'm starting to feel like something is my possession. No one can have it but me. I'm getting jealous. I'm getting desperate. I can't hold on anymore. What's happening? My body's going to give up. I've lost the coin again, right? But what if I took that coin again and I turn my palm around? I turn things around and I slowly open my grip and I release that hold. That coin is right there. I haven't lost it, but I'm not fighting for it anymore. I'm not holding on too tightly, and I'm not tunnel vision focusing on it. It's still there, and I'm released from that hold. I'm free. Going back to Kate's book, The Inner Tarot, with every card she has a section called How to Connect with the Card. For the Four of Pentacles, she focuses on finances. She writes, address your money wounds. Money holds memories, trauma for some, purpose and attachment for others. Try to recall your first money memory. I can recall my first money memory. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I really wanted to get a bike. And I'm not talking about those bikes, you know, that have one speed, the banana seat, and you pedal backwards and that's your brake. I wanted a 5-speed adult bike. So I was trying to figure out how to make money at 8 or 9 years old, right? So my friend and I heard that the local pharmacist was paying kids to distribute flyers door to door. And all we had to do was show up at the pharmacy at 7 a.m. every Saturday. We got our pile of flyers, we got our territory, and we worked so hard. And I was so serious about this. I was folding them nicely in 3 and putting them gently through the mail slots and things like that. Got back to the pharmacy. The pharmacist gave me a quarter. 25 cents for like 3 or 4 hours of work. And I guess in a way that was a money memory for me, because in my head, what I equated was that no matter how hard I work, I'm not going to get compensated properly. And I really like this exercise because I didn't realize this before, but I think that deep down, when I was actually seeking out employment, that money memory was still with me. I thought, why go for the high-end jobs when I have to work really, really hard, because I'm not going to get compensated properly anyway. So why not just take the safe job, the one I know I'll get, the one that I don't have to work too hard for? Now, it wasn't just that money memory that helped me to make choices in my work life. I also had the people-pleasing thing going on, so that was a really bad combination for both of them. But what about you? Do you have a good money memory, or like me, do you have a bad money memory that may have created some crazy kind of false core belief or false core value in your unconscious mind? Now, here's what I have to offer as homework that you can do. Since we're talking about money and finances, I just have a few tips for you. Since one of the meanings of the Four of Pentacles is, or some of the meanings, stability, financial stability, maybe we're turning our financial stability around. So I just wanted to offer you some practical advice that I've done with regards to finances and trying to establish a good financial health. About 10 years ago, I started what's called a TFSA, and that's a tax-free savings account. Now, very, very simply put, it's a savings account, but it's an investment savings account that you can withdraw money from tax-free. Like I said, that's a very simple explanation. There are a lot of rules. When I started, I set up an automatic withdrawal with my bank, $5 every payday. Now, to some people, this might seem like not much, you know, or it might seem weird to say $5, like that was 10 bucks a month maybe. But it was a big deal for me because at the time I was living paycheck to paycheck. And as time went by, I actually learned to live without that $5. And I'm sure some of you can relate. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, $5 is a huge deal. But after time, you start to learn to live without that $5. So you get used to not having it. And because it's an automatic withdrawal, it's gone. It's gone. As soon as your pay is put in the bank, it's gone the same hour, the same minute, whatever. You don't even see it. It goes right into that savings account. So it becomes sort of like a change of habit, learning to live on less because it's automated. Now, after a while, I increased it to $10 every paycheck, and I started to be able to live without the extra $5, et cetera, until I started to build up that savings. And it's little baby steps like that that can make all of the difference. Now, when it comes to debt, and I'm talking credit card debt here, which most of us have, let's be real here, we may use it as our emergency money. I know I have in the past, but it's not our money. It's borrowed money. And credit cards are just horrible when it comes to interest. It's such a money-making cash cow, but I'm not going to get into that. No matter how big your debt is, try really, really, really hard to pay more than the minimum payment every month, okay? If you can add just an extra $1, $5, or better yet, $15 to your minimum payment, that's going to help very, very much. Now, this is a quote that I read on one of the websites of the big banks here in Canada, and it's very, very true. I actually learned this at university when I was studying finance, and I actually applied it to one of my credit cards, and I saw how it works. So this is the quote I'm going to read to you. Let's say you have a current credit card balance of $5,000 with an interest rate of 21% and a minimum monthly payment of $105. This is a realistic example here. If you make minimum payments, it will take you 9 years to pay everything off. However, if you increase your monthly payments to $120, an extra $15, it would take a little over 6 years to pay it off. So by increasing your monthly payments by just $15, you could pay off your balance 3 years sooner. If you continue to increase your monthly payments over time, you could pay your balance off even faster. Now, This is because the extra $15 a month is paying off part of the principal of the debt, not the interest. So when the principal is lowered, the interest charge is lower too. So keep that in mind. One of my friends once told me she went on what's called an envelope budget. It's she withdrew a certain amount of money every month from her bank account, and she divided it all up in envelopes with labels on the envelopes: rent, groceries, gas, etc., etc. And that's all she had. Whatever was in the envelope was all she could spend that month. And if the money was gone in the envelope, that was it. Nothing more. And that really worked for her. I don't like to carry cash around with me, so that wouldn't work for me. But I personally have become very, very frugal, and I've adopted this philosophy. Eat it up, wear it out, make it do, or go without. I buy mostly everything secondhand when I can. I use credit cards that have rewards attached to them, but I make sure I pay the whole balance off at the end of the month now that I've managed to get mostly out of debt. I use point cards, and I shop with the flyers. If you have any tips to share with people about how to reduce debt or save money or to be frugal, please share them in the comments, because everyone can benefit from that. And also, if you have comments about generally how to let go, how to stop being clingy, how to stop holding on too tight, that would be very helpful too. Kate also has a section for each card called Deeper Reflection. She suggests that you write and reflect on the following 2 questions. Number 1, do I trust myself to uphold my values and maintain my valuables? Number 2, in what ways does my treatment of materials and stuff reflect how I treat myself? Those are some potentially very deep questions that you can ponder, my friends. Maybe take some time to really do some intense journaling, because those are really good questions to ask yourself. Now, I have a link that you might find interesting. It's called Why People Hold On to Stuff. You can find this link in the description below. The subject matter refers to mostly hoarding things and stuff, but I think that the ideas can really relate to everything and all the things we were talking about in every area of your life. Now, here are some general Four of Pentacles journal prompts for you. And again, these will be available in the downloadable PDF workbook below. They're from the book Journaling with the Tarot. What is your philosophy of money, and what's its purpose? Are your decisions typically fear-based or love-based? Ooh, that's a deep one, my friends. That's a deep dive. Fear-based or love-based? Interesting. What are you resisting and why? About what do you need to loosen up? I have a book called Trauma Healing Journal, and for this series I'll share a specific trauma healing prompt with you. This prompt is under the heading of growth and reflection. Consider how your past experiences have contributed to the person you are today. Ask yourself that. These experiences could very well have hindered your growth, but remember, it's never too late to make a huge change in your life. I'd like to pull some oracle cards now for a little bit of insight about holding on too tight. Now, this card is from the Whispers of Healing Oracle deck. It's the Give Back card. There are so many things going on in this card, and that could be a metaphor of what's going on in your head if you hold on too tightly to things or people. You're always trying to figure out how to keep them, how to control the situation. There's just too much going on in your head. Now, the guidebook says you need an interruption in your life. I think really that this is the key. You need to interrupt what you've been doing and do something completely different. Instead of holding on tightly, let loose. Give something up. Give up your time, your money, your worldly goods. Declutter your house. Declutter your mind. Giving of yourself will give you a different outlook on what's going on in your life. When you focus on helping others and giving to others, it provides a break in your own routine. Now, I've pulled 2 cards. This is from the Famous Art Oracle deck. We have the Van Gogh card and the Frida Kahlo card. Seeing things differently and then seeing things clearly. In order to stop the behavior of clinging to people or things, you may need to take a step back and see things differently. You need to recognize why you're holding on so tight, because when you figure out the why, Maybe it'll bring you an epiphany moment and help you see how unhealthy it is. Now, Vincent van Gogh was able to move beyond Impressionism and experiment with bold colors and symbolic meanings and expressive, often distorted forms. That's him seeing things differently. And Frida's card says seeing things clearly. One thing she said during an interview that I read was that she never painted her dreams, she painted her own reality. She saw things clearly. So once we find the understanding of seeing things in a different way, we might get clear on how important it is to let go and stop holding on so tight. Now, I'd like to pull a card, an oracle card for the collective, as something we can keep in mind with regards to holding on too tight. Now, this is from the Moonology Oracle. The card is the mutable moon. The message is nothing is yet set in stone. Mutable is about change. Something is still developing. There's a little bit of wiggle room. Nothing is rigid. We talked about how holding on too tight to someone or something can become imprisoning in a way. Well, the mutable moon tells you that there is room for change. You can do things differently. You can release yourself from the prison of holding on too tight. So what are the key points that we should think about today with regards to what we discussed about holding on too tight? Well, the first key point is holding on too tight can hurt us. The second key point is we cling to people and objects often for unhealthy reasons. Number 3, we falsely believe that holding on will bring us happiness, security, and meaning. Number 4, there are unfortunate consequences to holding on too tight, as we discussed. Number 5, our money memories may affect our current financial health and habits. And number 6, we can learn to let go and free ourselves. Nothing is set in stone. That's our show for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. And I do hope that some of this resonated with you and you got some value out of it. Please leave me a comment. Share how you feel. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. Leave me your tips. I love reading your comments and I do reply to them. And don't forget to check out all the goodies I left you in the description below. Next week, we'll be working with the Five of Pentacles. So until then, my friends, take care of yourselves. Tap, tap, tap. I'm sending you lots of love. Take care. Bye.